Please remember that this game has content warnings. No, seriously, content warnings.
Welcome back. I want to talk a little bit more about Omori. I have been doing my darndest. Oh, I've been trying so hard to avoid all the comments in my videos until I'm done with the game, just in case there are any potential spoilers. But I did see a comment in my last video, which will be linked here, wherever it gets linked, saying that withholding some of my comments until I'm done with the game, it's a very long game, wasn't exactly the most helpful. And we're all individuals who are learning, growing, and changing as we go, and I own that, and that's some pretty valid feedback. At this point in time, I finished a little more of the game than what you've currently seen. Those videos have just already been recorded, but I wanted to talk about the part of the game where you go to the White Room a second time, and then you find a way out. So I thought that I would put out my thoughts in some kind of a short video, almost like a little intermission before the rest of the videos that I've already recorded. At this part of the game, which is probably like here, wherever it gets kind of linked, I feel like I was still kind of processing everything that was happening. Because the game goes from this lovely part to a new scene, and that quick change, not that it's bad, but when you have that kind of quick change, I feel like I'm still processing what was going on before in the White Room to what's going on with Omori and Basil, and it's like shifting gears, and my brain is just, what? Which is probably why, honestly, I just forgot to comment on it. It just slipped my mind. Because I'm trying to read things and piece together what's happening with Omori and Basil. And then there's this whole new scene with a whole new person. And my brain just can't handle it all. And so if one thing ended up getting lost in all of the shifting scenes, it was any actual comments on what happened before? Probably not the best, but when I was reviewing the video for editing, I realized that that's what happened, which is why I put some comments in that I would give some more comprehensive thoughts when I reviewed the game as a whole. But it is a long game, and that's valid feedback that I could be giving more of this feedback along the way. So here we are. I guess to give some overall context about my thoughts so far on the game and how they are showing those very serious things, when I edited the video, I had said, I want to reserve a lot of my thoughts for the end. And I have that instinct because I want to see how it plays out, in the sense of, I'm sitting here going, is this a dream? Is this trauma? Is this disassociating? Is this, I don't know. But I also have this instinct to see how realistically mental health is portrayed. That for me is one of the biggest things about video games. Mental health is everywhere, whether we like it or not. Statistically, in the US, like 1 in 5 people is struggling with something mental health related. And if we're talking about suicide, this is the second leading cause of death for people between ages 10 and 35 in the US, of course. So mental health impacts us, our families, our communities, whether we like it or not. So denying it in video games and saying that we can't talk about video games is not always the most realistic portrayal of life in general. Having said that, I think it's totally valid to not always want our video games to be realistic. I mean, sometimes we're overwhelmed with life, and we don't want our games to be realistic to that. We want our games to be an escape. That is fair and that is valid. But sometimes we want that realistic game experience. I look at it as there's so much stigma already with mental health. And if we show mental health in a way that isn't the most realistic, that adds to the stigma. So that's a big part of why I want to wait and see, how is this being talked about? How is this being shown? Was there a purpose behind this? Or was this there for the shock value? That's one of the biggest things that I want to kind of wait on, see about. Another thing that comes to my mind with a game like this that shows something that heavy is, I really wish that there was a better system for content warnings. I don't want to shit on this game at all. They have a content warning. But I'm coming from this place where when I am personally playing a game and I see a content warning, I'm just in a habit of dismissing it. Probably says a lot about me, but whatever. Content warnings can be very inclusive. It can be a way to give people a heads up about, like, hey, you know, there's a flashing lights thing in this game. There's, you know, whatever. I feel it can be a way to also let people know about stuff before they buy a game and they get invested in a game. But I've seen games where there's not a lot of horror themes in it, but they use the same verbiage of content warnings as potentially a game like Omori. And I feel like that's confusing as a consumer, because we get trained to assume that content warnings mean, I don't know, jump scares. And I don't know of a good way to solve this, but I think that if we know that, like, no, seriously, for realsies, this is a thing, I think it can help us make these choices about if we want to play this game, but also, are we mentally at a good place to play this game? If a video game talks about serious mental health concerns and it mirrors something in our own life, that can be really hard, especially if we're not prepared for it. But I can see how it might be hard for a game developer to know, how do I accurately let consumers know what they're getting themselves into, to know if they want to buy this game, if they don't want to buy this game, how they should mentally prepare themselves. But how, at the same time, do I not spoil it for people? Because if you put too much into a content warning, I can see how it feels like a spoiler. So I feel like I can see both sides of this, but I wish that there was some kind of a system that was a bit more accurate. I feel like these are some of the biggest thoughts that come to my mind when I think about this part of the game, or these concepts in general, when it comes to video game. I recognize this is a little bit of time after my initial video, but I would love to hear your guys' thoughts, and I'll see you guys in the next video.